Hello, dear friend, and welcome back. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to share with you an incredible update that will inspire you to lean in even more to this episode. You see, when I first recorded this conversation with Lee-Anne, she was just a few months into her journey inside the Boldheart business program and working with me. And you're going to hear her talk about the early shifts that she was experiencing, stepping out of the day-to-day of her business, hiring her team, and beginning to see herself as a true leader. But here's what's extraordinary. 1 year later, in addition to everything that Lee-Anne is going to share with you and how she did it, she has grown her team to 27 people, launched 3 new programs, and added 2 divisions to her company while working less. How is that possible? She'll also not yet reference in this episode because she shared it with me just last week. Her revenue has increased an additional 32% since this was recorded. And most importantly, she is no longer working in the daily operations of her business. So she's living with more freedom, more visibility, and more personal power and time than ever before. And she told me just last week, it's as though I've become a brand new person. And that's what happens when a woman says yes to being who she is meant to be and gets the right support to rise. And so as you listen to this episode today, and there will be so much to take notes on, I invite you to hear the beginning of a transformation that has only deepened and accelerated since this recording. If you have ever wondered what's possible for you when you stop playing small and you start leading with vision, this is the story you need to hear. Let me introduce you to Lee-Anne. Let's dive in. Hello, it's Fabienne, and I'm so happy to be here with Lee-Anne today. Lee-Anne, welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Lee-Anne, would you describe your business briefly and tell us where you were a year ago? I love this idea of inspiration by seeing the before and after of somebody's experience. So tell us briefly about your business and what were you experiencing in your business a year ago?
For sure. So as you said, my name is Lee-Anne. I'm the owner of Geseron Employment Consulting. So we work with individuals who are trying to get back into the workforce, whether it be they've been off on disability, want to change careers, whatever that looks like. We empower them to get back to it and find their own delicious lives, right? So I've been doing this since 2016. And, we had this steady year-over-year growth. Everything was good. We sort of well-oiled ourselves in all areas, and then we get back into it for that growth piece. Where I was finding I was coming to a standstill was when I did hit that sort of the 6-figure mark, like you talk about, where all of a sudden I found myself with this push-pull with the business in terms of I want it, but I don't want it because I can't actually do it. I can only divide my body in so many pieces. Feeling it, I was getting emotional, all of those pieces. So the business was doing well and all was great, but something was missing. And that's...
Were you overworked? Was your to-do list like never ending?
Yeah, the to-do list was never ending, but it was also that I couldn't see how to get through that piece to then become bigger, right? Like I don't have the background. My background is in vocational rehabilitation, which is what we do, not business, right? Yeah. That's where I was really getting hung up.
It's totally common. In fact, it's predictable.
Mm-hmm.
Once you hit 6 figures, or maybe for some people it's multiple 6 figures, there gets to be this point where what got you here, which is sheer force, working hard, particular set of, the way you show up or the way your team is or the way you delegate or your business model or whatever, that way that got you to 6 figures is what's actually trapping you. And most people don't know there's a different way, the leveraged way. And so they're like, you know what? I'm not sure I can actually grow any further, and I'm not sure I want to.
Yes. That was the big thing too, right? Because you kind of get stuck in that place of, well, how much do you really need? How big do you really need to be? Why is this not enough? You start having those sort of questions with yourself. and the pieces that you want to delegate out in terms of keeping that lifestyle that you'd sort of created for yourself, even in that moment, to recognize that you can actually be bigger and go bigger and accomplish more. And that in itself has been a huge part of this year's journey for me.
Yeah. And so you decided to take the leap of faith and join the Leveraged Business Program. And what's happened in just the first year?
Oh gosh, and I was talking to my husband about this on the weekend because we had the questions.
Yeah.
And I was like, for me, this year has really been more about stepping into being a woman leader and a woman in business. So as much as there is the consistent growth as I've seen year over year, some amazing things happened with that, as I know we'll get to, but it was more about stepping into being the woman leader that I am. Like, I just never saw myself that way. I was a worker bee, get it done, work late nights, do what you need to do. I had already a team in place, so that was coming together in some ways, but I was still working a lot. But I never really stepped out of being that worker bee and stepped into being this woman who owns this business. And that's changed a lot. That was a big part of this journey for me, and seeing myself in that light. And I remember in January when I joined, one of the first conversations that you had was, who does she look like? What does she wear? Because I'd been working in my basement since 2016. It didn't matter, right? Not that I wasn't taking care of myself, but when I looked in the mirror, I'm like, okay, you look like a staff. Like, is that, like, what do you look like? Who are you? How do you pose yourself? There was a lot of that piece of the journey that was huge, right? So, yeah.
On a practical level, what have you been able, so if somebody's listening to this and she's in the same place you were and thinking, where could I be 1 year from now if I started, in earnest to leverage my business, what has happened? Specifically, like what outcomes do you, understanding that you're still in the process and we haven't even finished, the modules yet, the trainings, what have you experienced in terms of results? Have you seen an increase in revenues? Have you seen an increase in clients? Have you changed your business model? Are you delegating differently? Are you getting back your time? Like whatever you can share with us.
All of it. Yes, and yes. So to start, we actually grew our team significantly. We brought in new roles because of that. I really took to heart when you had mentioned hire for where you're going, not where you're at. That became really imperative to me. And I had many conversations in the pods about how the asset is in the infrastructure, right? And that was a really strong message for me to learn because I didn't see that before. Like I didn't understand that, first of all, because I'm not a business major by any means. So to understand the infrastructure of the business itself was so key. So the growth in terms of the team, like we went from, 8 to 10 consistently working to us now having 16, sometimes 20 when different things are needed. But we have a consistent team now where referrals come in, we have somebody inputting them, we have team leads, we have somebody closing, we have all of these pieces in place, as well as the training manuals that go with them. So everybody knows their role. It's not so everybody's wearing a million hats anymore.
Right.
These designated roles. So that was huge. That was probably the biggest milestone of the year for me, was getting that team in place, because now I feel ready to just take it and run. The scary part with it, and this is why being part of your program is so imperative. So when you start bringing on a team like that for where you need to be to get where you want to go, you're going to see that sort of dwindling of funds that you wouldn't necessarily have seen without that team in place, which can be really, really terrifying, to the point that I could see a lot of people put the halts to it and say, whoa, this, maybe let's back off, or let's figure out a different way, and which creates them to be, again, overworked and fall back in that cycle, or worse, put their team into a place of cycle where they're doing more than they should be, or doing more than outside their own unique brilliance and all of those pieces. So I think that was a really, really huge piece for me, was putting that in place. And it is, and we're ready now to just knock it out of the park because the infrastructure is in place. But if I hadn't had leverage, and I didn't have you, and I didn't have the ladies, and I didn't have those Q&As to walk me through those moments of panic, I don't think I would have been able to just keep going. because
Yeah.
it's terrifying, but
Yeah.
it's so instrumental. And we've seen the growth already starting to happen because of that. And we see people getting their time back, and we see a different work-life balance coming from staff and all of that.
So you've put some of the elements in place, your team, which is one of the first things that it's like one of the ingredients. When you go into the kitchen and you want to, let's say just mac and cheese or whatever, and you don't have the ingredients, you can't make mac and cheese. You need the mac and you need the cheese, right? And so you needed to put the elements in place. What have you experienced in terms so far, understanding that you're, halfway through? What have you experienced in terms of getting control of your business, getting your life back, feeling like you're controlling your business as opposed to your business controlling you? How is that showing up for you?
In few different ways. I've had more of a bird's eye view now of things as opposed to being so immersed in. So my business manager, she sort of catered to one side of the business and I catered to another. And I was so immersed in my side of things, running that piece, that I wasn't seeing everything that was going on the other side. And in retrospect, even seeing what she was doing, right? And seeing where she was at. So the stressors that she had, I couldn't check in on all of those things. So now having more of a bird's eye view, not only do I feel like I'm seeing it more, have more control of all of those pieces, but I'm also seeing where we can expand, where improvement needs to happen, or where all those little things can change. Not much needs to change, to be honest. Like, we're really in a place where it's just coming into a growth phase. So it's new products. We've landed a different company, so a different referral source that will be bringing us referrals. We have a few new programs being developed for expansion. So all of those things are not only team-wise in place, but in motion. So again, it goes back to the whole, again, with leverage being pace, not race. It's hard sometimes to vision, when you can vision what your company is going to look like and where you're going, but you're not quite there yet. It's really hard to not have patience. And I'm not a patient individual to begin with. I want it yesterday type person. So I was telling my husband again on the weekend how interesting it's been that I can completely visualize where it's going. I see it, which is huge, that piece alone. But instead of the plates spinning above my head and feeling like any minute they can crash down, I feel now like those plates are just ready to be served. And
Right.
it's huge.
It sounds like, again, you're putting all the elements in place.
Mm-hmm.
Growth is already starting to happen, right? You're getting more referrals, more clients. But what's possible in just even this year? What do you think where will you be this year from where you started a year ago in terms of like revenues?
Oh gosh. Well, that's exciting actually. So we're sitting, do you want actual numbers?
I like actual numbers, but I think actual numbers is a gift that we can give to those who are listening because people usually aren't comfortable talking about it, but that's like where the juice is.
Yeah. Okay. So in 2023, my referral numbers, we had 443 clients come through the door, which is great. So that put us at just shy of 340,000. So that we've been pretty much increasing 10 to 20% a year. That's been kind of the norm. But with those numbers, and now, like I said, bringing on another referral source, and then with these other programs that are set to launch, I mean, I don't see why we can't bring in $500,000 more in this year alone, just because there's still some, when we get those programs launched. But if they do what I want them to, like, I see 7 figures. That's the goal. But I can see it for the company. I can see where it's going now. Like, I could never see it before. And that's all been because of Boldheart and the things that you've allowed me to put into place and given me the ability to be patient and the ability to go pace, not race. And I find by doing that, the speed is actually increased more than it would have by rushing it, more than it would have by forcing it. Some things you act fast and get it in place and get it going, but some things need to just be patient and give it the space and time that it needs. And I definitely would not have had the patience without this program or the recipe.
Do you realize that you said, I just want to understand, there is a possibility that, so a year ago you were at 300 something?
So year end this year, so this past, like just December year end, we were 338.
And where were you a year ago?
think it was 285.
Okay, so you increased by, what is that, 40 or 50,000?
Yeah.
And from here, you could triple your income by the end of this year to $1 million.
I think so, with these new programs and stuff, because with that was one less referral source, the one particular market that we work with, and just some of these new programs that I'm putting together, it's not only going to expand the options for the referral sources I currently work with, but it's going to expand the market to others who've reached out to us in the past and we've just said no. I didn't have the capacity. I said no to employers. I said no to private clients. I said no to anybody that was outside of those referral sources, but they were reaching out. So by opening up these other markets and by having the team in place, I see it.
I see it for you too. How will this make a difference in your life to, in 2 years, go from something to possibly $1 million? How will that make a difference in your life?
Oh gosh, it boils down to, we talked about this the other day. I think it was one of the Q&As or one of the activators, but we talked about how when you get there, you're just kind of like, oh, okay, oh, we did it. But it's a journey, right? And that's what I've noticed this past year. It's really, truly the journey. Like I remember when I joined in January, I was in tears. I found a community of people that I didn't recognize that I even needed. I didn't think I was struggling like I was, to be honest, because there was growth. I was good. Like I was busy, but I didn't feel like I had much of a life outside of the business, but it was okay because I was just working, right? Until all of a sudden you're just not okay. And you're like, is this it? Like, how do I get out of this when I'm ready to get out of this? There's no light at the end of the tunnel at that point. But until I actually sat and listened and met a community of women who understood where I was at and understood where I could be celebrated. I've been winning in the dark since 2016. I've been in my business building this empire that most people didn't even know I was doing. Like I was silently doing it. And like I said, I didn't take a lot of referrals outside my referral sources. So nobody really knew what I was even doing. I wasn't loud about it. I just did my thing. So to come into a community of people where all of a sudden you're celebrated and encouraged to win and appreciated for and respected for the work that you've done. And it is a game changer, not just as a businesswoman, but emotionally. And that to me was huge because all of a sudden I could see what everybody else was seeing, because even when I got there, I didn't see myself as this woman. But then all these individuals on the calls with us, they're seeing me that way because they don't know me otherwise, right? We're just having chit chats, conversations. They're like, what? So I finally got to see myself in the eyes of how they saw me and would congratulate me and speak to me and stuff. So it's been amazing.
You know me, I'm always talking about we at Boldheart are normalizing women being at $1 million and having a delicious life, and they're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
And this is you. Like, did you think when you started in 2016 that you would be at $1 million? I know, like, we just still have to do this year, but you'll be there by the end of the year.
Yeah.
You will. And you didn't think that was necessarily possible.
And it wasn't even the plan. When I first started the company, it was really, my kids were young. I just wanted to be employed for myself, so I didn't have to ask for permission to be home if they were sick or ask for permission to go to a sporting event or whatever that looked like. I wanted to be there for my kids, and that's why I did it. So in my mind, I said to my husband at the time, all I have to do is make what I make in my current job, and I'm good. And then the next thing you know, you've got a staff member and you're like, oh, that's fun. That's different. Okay, let's do that. And then it just kind of rolled from there. And so because it happened really organically, and it wasn't until I hit that certain threshold and I was like, oh my gosh, I think I could do something like bigger, but how? I can't. I'm stuck, whatever. Yeah.
Was there any part of you when you first heard about the program that resisted the idea, like, oh, it's going to take some time or it's going to require this investment, or like, do I trust these people? Is it really real that she takes women to $1 million, like in an authentic way? Did any of that come up?
It did and it didn't. I mean, obviously the money's the money, and especially I'm in Canadian funds, so you take that and have to add to it, right? But that's okay. So there was that piece of it. But I very much believe in universal signs. We've had this conversation many times. I'm very strong with regards to that. I'd actually heard about you in 2012 through a friend. So then I just stayed on your email. And to be honest, I probably deleted them most of the time before I read them because they weren't like it wasn't in that place, right? And I wish I could remember which email it came in and what the subject line was that I was like, oh, Fabienne, because I loved you back then. So I was like, oh, the title, I was like, this is what I need right now. And I really, really wish I'd taken like a screenshot of which one really caught me, but it did. The subject line caught me. And I went in and I went to my husband. I said, remember with Marlo, I was like 2012, that client attraction. I said, I think I want to work with Fabienne. She has this program. I qualify because of my numbers. And I'm like, I really think this could be the game changer to take it from one spot to another. He is super supportive. So he's like, yeah, like go for it. Right. And let's see what happens. I didn't have any real pushback. I knew you'd be worth it. I really wasn't sure what to expect. I did go in, unaware of just what I would be getting, and have to say that I'm more than pleasantly surprised and amazed and in awe every single time, because I would pay it over and over again just to be part of it all and work with you.
Thank you. I always say, you've heard me say this, like I built Boldheart and I built the leveraged business program for myself, even though I can't be part of it because I'm the leader of it. But it's everything that I wished I could have been a part of in the marketplace, and it didn't exist, and it still doesn't exist. And so I get, little tears in my eyes, like watching all of you just thriving and loving each other and supporting each other and growing and activating your potential for greatness, living into your potential is so incredible for me to witness. And I'm so thankful that you would share your story with whoever is listening today. They're at that place where you were just 1 year ago thinking, there's no way I want to grow. But wait, is there more for me? And this is just the beginning of your story, Lee-Anne, but it's incredibly inspirational. And so I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for inspiring those who needed to hear this today.
Well, and I thank you, because you're definitely at the top of that list for why I could become who I've become. And yeah, I credit it all to you and giving me the recipe and giving me the hope and giving me the support and the love and the tears when we need it. Yeah, you cover the gamut, and yeah, you're a soul that I didn't know I needed in my life, but you definitely transformed mine.
Thank you so much, Lee-Anne. Wow, just my heart is expanded just from our conversation. Just a little inspiration for everybody who's out there, sending you all lots of love. Thanks, Lee-Anne.
Thank you. Talk soon.
If Lee-Anne's story resonated with you, if you found yourself nodding and taking notes and thinking, that is where I am right now, please let this be your sign. There is a version of your life and your leadership and your business that is waiting for you on the other side of structure, support, and community. You don't have to white knuckle your way through your business any longer. You don't have to figure it out alone. There is a roadmap. There is a sisterhood. And there is a space where your vision is not only held, but expanded. And that's what we do inside Boldheart. If you're at 6 figures or even at 7 figures and you feel like you've hit a ceiling, if you are overworked and undersupported and secretly wondering, is this really all there is? I want to personally invite you to take the next step. Reach out and let's talk. Let's talk about what's possible for you inside the Boldheart Business Program. Lee-Anne said yes to herself, and a year later, everything has changed. And you deserve that too. Because, as I always say, when a woman makes her own money and lots of it, she has a voice and a choice. Let's make that your reality. Book a call with us. We would love to talk to you about your situation and see if we can help.